Why did MSNBC host and author of Your Business, J.J. Ramberg, start with why when creating Good Search, a charitable search engine that already raised $10 million for good causes? Welcome to Lipstick Unplugged. I'm your host, Dee Patience, and I'm here with J.J. Ramberg, who has a great book called It's Your Business, 183 Essential Tips That Will Transform Your Business. She is also the host on MSNBC for a long-running show since 2006 and co-founded a startup with her brother, Good Search, that it reached more than 15 million users and raised more than $10 million for charities. So here's the interview. Enjoy. All right, we're here with J.J. Ramberg, and I'm really excited because J.J. has done everything I've ever wanted to do in life, right? You have a book, you have your show that's been on for like 7 years already, and you have a startup, which I've always wanted to launch a startup. And so I want to just dive right into the questions. My audience is really excited to meet you. So first of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dee. It's great to talk to you.
So, JJ, one of the big things that a lot of women face is this whole startup and knowing when to pivot, when to move, when to start their business. Now, you have a unique background, which is different than mine. I grew up where I was told, get a job, work for a company for a while, go to college. You grew up in this whole family of entrepreneurs. Your husband's an entrepreneur, and you've always been an entrepreneur, correct?
I haven't actually, but I've always been around them. So my mother was an entrepreneur, my father, both grandfathers, my brother, now my husband. And so the idea of starting something to me is something you obviously do if you have a good idea. It's not something that I was scared of.
Well, then tell me, how do you know, for instance, with Good Search? Because that's kind of where did it start with Good Search, like where that was your aha idea that sort of changed everything for you?
It was, as far as business goes. So I was a journalist. I'd worked at NBC and CNN, and I had also worked for a few startups before, but I had never started my own company until Good Search. And the reason I took the plunge with that one is because we came up with this idea, my brother and I, to change philanthropy, to make doing good something that could be a part of your everyday life. And that to me seemed like something I was wanted to sink my teeth into. I was so passionate about this idea that it was easy for me to see the future of it.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that I interviewed Maura Forbes recently. I was telling you about that. We were just, emails were flying back and forth. And she said the same thing. She's interviewed like 300 women, and she was saying the same thing in that you really do have to have a passion for it to get through those down points. Through those slow times. And you went through a lot with starting Good Search, because I listened to your book. And by the way, my husband's an engineer, and he liked your book.
Oh, that's
he
good.
hates business books. He hates it like you're making him pay taxes, okay? And I listened to it on the audiobook on Audible, and I really think it helps when authors like you have that passion and we can listen to you on on audiobook. I just listened straight through all the tips. And so one of the things I wanted to ask though is we just talked about going through that slow period, that downtime. And so one of the things I wanted to know then is what were some of the challenges that you faced with Good Search, and how did you get through it?
Yeah, so we had an interesting challenge with Good Search in the beginning. So we've been really fortunate that this idea has taken off right from the beginning. So we actually haven't really had a downtime since we started in 2005. But we've certainly had plenty of challenges. And there are lots of times when you're up in 2 in the morning thinking, did I make the right decision? Did I not make the right decision? And those are the times when you need to have faith in yourself. Not necessarily that you can do it all. I talk a lot about this, but that you can figure out the answer.
Yeah.
So, you have to believe that you are well networked enough, you can research enough. And by networked enough, I don't mean to even say you know the right person, but you can figure out how to eventually get to the right person.
Right.
You just have to have faith that you can do it and faith in your idea.
So can you tell me, can we kind of walk through maybe that pull the sheet back on your launch process? Because it's different, right? You had a book, you have your show, you have Good Search. Was it kind of the same process? Did it evolve? Or how did you get those? Because all of them are successful, right?
So Good Search. So with the show, I have the backing of MSNBC behind me,
Right.
and so I can't take full credit for that. I do think with the show, though, which is Your Business on MSNBC, what we did is we filled a hole that was not being filled out there in the marketplace. I mean,
Right.
there's so much talk about small business now, and everyone realizes how important they are. But on television 7 years ago, there was no show that focused on giving small business people information that they need to grow their business. And so I think that's why the show's been so successful.
Yeah.
For Good Search, my brother and I came up with this idea. It was a typical startup that you'd see in that you'd read about in an encyclopedia. I worked out of my office. My apartment in, I'm just going to tell everyone to be.
Yeah, tell them. Shush. That's the boss
Sorry
lady
about
right there. No, that's awesome.
I suddenly just noticed the noise level.
You're like, shush. That's what you do with your kids, is because you have 3 kids and doing all this. Is that kind of how it works?
You see me going a little bit quieter. Yeah. And so with Good Search, my brother and I had this idea. It was, as I was saying, a typical startup in that I worked out of my my home in New York, my apartment. He worked out of his home in California. And we just worked, every waking hour. I would wake up, roll out of bed, go to my desk, which was also my dining room table, and at 11 o'clock at night, I'd realize I'm still in my pajamas working.
Wow.
But we were just so excited about this idea. And then we got a couple people working from us that I found on Craigslist and worked out of my apartment with me in New York. And one of them is still with us today, and she laughs because when we first hired her, she was just out of college, and her mom said, "Really? You're going to work for this, this company that I have never heard of out of some woman's apartment? Are you sure?" She had gotten a job offer from a really well-known company as well, and she turned it down to come to us. And so a few years ago, we put her on Fox News. They were doing an interview with us, and so Carrie went on for us, and it was so exciting to show her mom.
Well, I think it's really one of the things that you covered in the book, and it's called It's Your Business, the 183 magic number for, I know that you were just saying it just happened to be 183 out of all the thousands of tips that you went through from your show. But the 183 essential tips that'll transform your business. Now, the good thing that I like about the book was that it's a bunch of really quick bites of stuff that you wish someone had told you. And one of the things that you talked about in the book that I found really interesting, you have a lot of stuff in there. For instance, treating that employee that you mentioned really well, putting flowers on her desk, even though she's in like your one room, apartment. I thought that was cool. But really what I want to know, and I think the audience is going to want to know, is you talked about the why, and you even wrote a kind of a quick article, I think, for entrepreneur.com on starting with your why, and it's how you introduce your show that really stood out. And what I'm not connecting with is that you were asked a whole bunch of questions about your background growing up, and then you came to that why. But how did you get to that why just from a bunch of questions?
Got it. So every tip in the book comes from someone who has been on the show or someone who is in our network of people here at Your Business. And that one comes from Simon Sinek. So I urge all of you who are wondering about this question to go on and listen to Simon's TED Talk. Or you can go buy his book, which is Start With Why.
Right.
And he explains this very well. So I will not do the same justice as Simon can. but the idea is that Simon came to me. I met him early on in the show, and he had this idea that people, when they connect with your company, they don't connect with what you do, they connect with why you do it. So chances are what you do, anyone can do, right? Apple makes a computer. Lots of people make computers. People connect with them because of the emotion. And so when you can figure out and express your why, people will, again, connect with you much more. So, for example, when we first started Good Search, it was just search. Now it's also shopping and dining, and we're launching some other things. But it was simply search. So this was 7 years ago or 6 years ago, and Simon said to me, "What does Good Search do?" And I said, Simon, it's a company that donates a penny per search to your favorite charity. And I said, it's a Yahoo-powered search engine that donates a penny per search to your favorite charity.
Right.
That's what it was. And so then he went and he asked me all these questions. He asked me, you know, what do I like about it? What do I like working? Why do I like working with my brother, who is my co-founder? What was I interested in high school? Did I do community service? What's my favorite color? I mean, he asked me all this stuff. It pretty much felt like a therapy session, not a business discussion. But through all of that, we got to the why, and then we came up with this idea, and it's changed a bit over the years. But you know, Good Search empowers people to help their favorite causes during their everyday lives.
Yeah, and that's what I love.
That is so much more compelling than Good Search is a search engine that donates a penny, you know, to your favorite cause for every search.
Yeah, but your why that I really liked is that you specifically said that it's because you believe that people can do good in just their everyday lives and doing everyday things. And that's something that I believe too. So anyone who really that message connects with, they're going to really grab onto that more so than, there's some kind of search engine and I don't really know how it works. So one of the things that you were talking about is with your show, and I know I'm kind of bouncing, but one of the reasons why I'm bouncing between the book, Good Search, and the show is that along each way you've made adjustments, and we all get these different ideas and things like that. And how do you make your decision? You're working really hard on Good Search, and you have the show and you're launching a book, but how does that affect the work that you're doing with Good Search? Was it kind of a tough time, or how did you manage that?
No, I just worked a lot. You know, they intertwined somewhat in that growing a business was very helpful for me in running my show. I didn't have to do the same kind of research a lot of other people might have had to do as the host of the show because I was living it. Having the show helped with Good Search because I learned so many things from other people I interviewed. That's what's in the book. All these things that I learned. And so they were quite helpful. That said, look, there are only 24 hours in a day, and I also have kids and family. And it's hard to manage time. It's something that I think about every single day, and something gives every day. People ask a lot, you know, to pretty much every woman who's our age about, or I don't know how old you are, but my age, about work-life balance.
Yeah.
And I say it's not it's a big picture thing, but just as much, it's an everyday thing. You know, I sit at my desk and I think, what is the most important task at hand for whatever it is, whether it's, you know, book, the show, my family, whatever it is.
Yeah, and so one of the things is that that I like that you've really taken, you're still working and you still work in Good Search. Is there going to be a transition for you? For instance, you've had your show for since 2006, correct? And Good Search was 2005. You recently launched your book, but with the show, you know, a lot of my friends are they're show hosts, at least the online friends, and that's a lot of talking for a long time, you know, and Good Search has been around for a long time. A lot of people are wanting to sell their companies off. So with those two ideas, I mean, you're sticking in there. Is there anything new, or what's next for you?
Well, a couple of years ago, we hired a CEO for Good Search. So my brother and I ran this company ourselves for 2 years. And then a couple of years ago, or almost at our anniversary, actually, we hired Scott Garrell, who was the president of Ask.com, to run the company. And so now he runs the company day to day. He's built an amazing team, and I'm still quite involved, but I'm so excited about what's happening at Good Search that I could not be involved in it. And the show too, look, what we get to do is we get to tell people's stories here on Your Business and get to learn from so many people, and things are always changing. Trends are always changing in business. I'm learning something new every single day from the people I interview. So I probably will not write another book in 2013, but I do plan to do both of these other things.
So with Good Search, you mentioned, and one of the things you mentioned in the book was at some point you relaunched Good Search. There was a relaunch. So I didn't really get the clear idea of why the relaunch. What was that all about?
Got it. So that might have... We relaunched the design of the site. We didn't pivot in the way that you hear of a lot of big companies completely changing directions.
Right.
We didn't do that, but we have built upon what we started. So we started with search, then we added shopping, then we added dining, then we completely changed our design and added registration. And so rather than pivoting, I see we're iterating or just growing.
Right. And so can you tell the audience, because I realized at the beginning I was going to say all this stuff about what Good Search is. So since it's not too late,
Sure.
Give us a more clear, because I think that, when in the show intro I say here's what it does, but really can you kind of walk us through really from, since you're in it, you're digging in it every day, really what is Good Search and Good Shop?
Sure. Okay. So the idea behind these is it came from my brother and myself, and we have always been involved in philanthropy and causes our whole life. But the fact is that most of us cannot do as much good as we'd like to. I mean, if you just look at my morning this morning, I woke up, I fed my children, I ran to work, I'm doing this, I'm going to do my show, I'm going to run home,
I hear you.
Feed them dinner. All of us are like this. And where in your day do you have time to support the cause that you care about, whether it is the ASPCA or your local school or, saving your local river, whatever it is. Everyone cares about a cause.
Right.
And so we thought, wouldn't our days be better and our lives be richer if we could actually incorporate supporting that cause every single day, make it a part of our lives? And so we thought, okay, what is something people do every day? They search. Yeah. So we started with Good Search, and it's Yahoo powered. You get the same results as if you went to Yahoo, and every time you do a search, a penny goes to your cause, about a penny. And then we layered on shopping. So we partnered with 2,500 online retailers, and every time you shop, a percentage of what you spend goes to your cause. And then we layered on dining. So we partnered with 10,000 restaurants across the country, and every time you eat at one of those restaurants, a percentage goes to your cause.
I love that. You're like, it's like, hush. All right, people. No, so that's really great.
Sorry
and,
to see me going like
but, and the numbers, what are the new numbers? Because I know I had some numbers from the book. It was 15 million, and you've raised 15 million people or hits, and then 10 million raised for charities. Is that still correct, or about that amount?
Since the book just came out, we had 15 million people use it last year, more than $9 million raised for charity so far. Well, charities and schools and other organizations on the site. So, the idea is you're not giving anything up here. You're still shopping like you normally would, searching like you normally would. It's just changing these everyday actions into a way to support your cause. I mean, think about this. Every single holiday gift you get this year can support your cause.
And I would encourage folks, and I went in and looked, and it's a beautiful site. I think that the relaunch, I don't know what it looked like before. I can probably go sneak on the Wayback Machine.
Definitely better now.
Yeah, I mean, we always want to improve our sites. But one of the, when you, we're going to ask like maybe just some final questions here and then go ahead and wrap up. But I wanted to know for JJ, though, I know you want to stay in Good Search, you want to stay with what you're doing, but a lot of folks were asking, where do you see yourself, like down the road? I don't know. I really, a lot of times, I know you have kids, I have kids. I think about what I want the world to be like for them. And then I kind of choose projects and things that is going to make my, the kids, in the future, their lives better. I kind of want to impact that. I want to help women grow strong businesses. So how are you deciding, or do you already know kind of what you want to do for the next 5 or 10 years? Or how does that work for you?
Well, I'm very passionate about the two things that I'm doing now, and I like you, care about making the world a better place, and think that these, in my view of the world, these two things, helping people grow their businesses and helping them make doing good a part of their everyday lives.
Yeah.
Those are both really important to me, and help create a world that I would like my children to live in, and so. I really love what I'm doing. In 5 years from now, if I'm still doing both of these things and they're going really well, I will consider myself very lucky.
Wow. And that's, I have to say that it must be wonderful that your business is your passion and it's what you give back with. I mean, that's kind of all wrapped in one, and that's what I think a lot of us are looking for.
It's lucky. But listen, people ask me all the time about socially responsible business, and I will say that I think the most socially responsible thing you can do is provide a job for someone.
Wow.
And so my company is born on the idea of giving back. But that doesn't mean that every business cannot give back. Hire people, run a strong business so that they can keep their jobs and be good to your employees.
and tell them to get your book. Like, I'm serious. Those were some tips. Some of the tips I would have never thought of. My husband liked the sneaky tip of calling, like when your competitors go out of business, to have their phone number forwarded to you. He was like, what? I mean, there's some stuff in there. A lot of it's really great stuff about how to manage employees and partners and really grow. And so I really want folks to pick up your book. And I want you to tell them, where to go for good search, good shop, where to find you online.
Great. So the show, openforum.com/yourbusiness.
Okay.
The book, itsyourbusinessbook.com, or you can just go to the bookstore. And Good Search is goodsearch.com.
All right. Well, thank you so much for talking to our audience. It's always great. I'm really glad I got to meet you, and I'm really excited about what you have. I'm going to keep watching and keep checking in on Good Search.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It was great talking to you.
That's it for today's Innovator Interview. I hope you enjoyed the show. For more inspiring mentor interviews, the show notes, and your Rebel Action worksheet, visit lipstickunplug.com.